We were just not up to it. We decided for an additional central defender because most of our natural ball winners were injured and not available. But the first goal after 6 minutes, I don't know, that was not part of the game plan to be that high up and to try to press high up and then concede a transitional moment after 6 minutes. That was not part of the game plan.
Not part of the game plan there. You listen to Ralf Rangnick speak and you can hear the frustration in his voice. You can hear almost this exasperated tone every time he speaks about this club. And we're going to delve into some of that with you this morning because we are on the edge of appointing a new manager. And there is an air of excitement about what a futuristic, talented coach could bring to this club. There has been arguments amongst the fan base for years. They're still going on, by the way, of ability versus attitude, culture versus skill and technique. And the fact that we are still arguing and still in this position where we think we need one or the other instead of both together at the same time is an absolute huge concern for me. Gary Neville has been massively outspoken. Maguire has absolutely embarrassed himself again as a Manchester United player. The lack of fight and determination coupled with the terrible recruitment and running of this football club has left us in dire, dire straits. Now, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Make sure you're smashing that like button. You're subscribing to the Football Terrace. Let's do this. Now, this is the moment that Ralf Rangnick is speaking about here. Maguire in the opening minutes of the game, pushing up horrendously high for no reason. Absolutely zero reason to be pushing up like this. Now, if you push the frames back a little bit further in real time, Alanga should have gone with the run of Trent. There's no doubt about it. But look where Maguire is. He is well out of line with his defensive partners. He's 5 to 6, maybe more than 6 yards, 8-9 yards in front of his teammates in that position. He's creating this gulf, this hole at the back to be exploited. This is not the behavior of a Man United captain. This is not the performance of an £80 million, £40 million, £10 million, £5 centre-back. Bang average Sunday League defenders are not making those mistakes. And he did it all game. And listen back to what Ralf Rangnick said. That wasn't part of the game plan. That wasn't what we were trying to do. It's horrendous that this guy is part of this football club. It's horrendous that he's here. It's horrendous that he's part of what is going on. It simply and utterly is. And it wasn't the biggest, it was one of the biggest issues last night, not the only one. You know, Gary Neville highlighted a number of things last night that this team is a waste of space because they weren't trying. No defensive awareness, not pressing as a pack, not staying in shape. Horrendous. And it takes a young kid to come on to show them a bit of spirit, how to put a challenge in. And look, Hannibal came on and got himself booked. I was more proud of that than any other action from any other player for the whole night. And that just shows how far this club has fallen. Now, Ralf Rangnick isn't overtly accountable for this. But what I will say is very simple. Why are you still picking Maguire? Why are you still picking Bruno Fernandes? Why are you still picking Paul Pogba? Why are you still picking Jesse Lingard? Why are you still picking Nemanja Matic? Top four's done. Get the kid. It doesn't matter if the kids are good enough or not. Doesn't matter if any of these kids are going to be here next season. Give them game time. I believe they'll give more. And at the very least, fans deserve that. Bruno Fernandes, very outspoken as he always is after games, said last night that Liverpool are fighting for the title. We are fighting for nothing. That is a difference. What an horrendous thing for him to say. We're fighting for nothing because of how bad you all performed. It's in league positions, titles, trophies, etc. But you are fighting for something. You should be playing for your careers. You should be playing for every single one of the paying fans, every single one of the fans tuning in around the world. You should be playing for the badge and the heritage of the football club. But this is what happens, by the way. where for years we try and play down a United way, a history, a way of doing things. When the club eradicates it, and many fans eradicate it as being unimportant, when there's no trophies on offer, there's no pride anymore. If you remove the history and the heritage and the culture, there is nothing to play for outside of trophies. But when you're not coached well enough, when the squad isn't good enough, when the mentality isn't there, you're never going to be challenging for things anyway. So you end up in this limbo of mediocrity every single time. This is what's going to happen, and it isn't going to improve. Now, what's really intriguing as well, I want to take a look here at something that Gary Neville also said yesterday, which I think is very, very important as well. We want to get this up here for you now, and this is very much about the problems at Manchester United.
I can't personally put too much blame attached to the Glaziers, other than other than them allowing people who weren't qualified and obviously weren't good enough to make football decisions.
Graham,
in terms of
straight away there with Graham Souness, straight away before even Gary Neville goes, you can't really put blame on the Glazers, other than the fact that he literally just said, but they employed people to run the club that don't know how to run the club. This is the issue we have with punditry sometimes. You are feeding the wrong message into Manchester United fans. The fact that they employed the wrong people to run the club is the very definition of why we are where we are. Maguire shouldn't be at Man United. Bruno maybe shouldn't have got a new deal. We probably shouldn't have signed Ronaldo. Pogba should have gone 4 years ago. All these things should have happened. Just because the owners allow Ed Woodward and those bad football decision makers to waste money, give big contracts to the wrong players, doesn't mean they deserve praise or no criticism. Wasting money is a problem. Spending money on the wrong things is a problem. When will Manchester United, as soon as any United fan, I don't expect him to get it, other than the fact that he's one of the highest paid pundits in the world. But when a Man United fan's going to wake up, I want Maguire to go. Facts. But my direction of annoyance, and this is why the second half of this video is on this, is at the club. If the club don't take him out, you've got to get off the Maguire's back and focus on them. If you want Maguire out, but you renew your season ticket, it's your fault.
the funding, you cannot be critical of them.
Graham, seriously. No owners of any business, good business in the world, when the core activity of that business is failing and the cash reserves have been drained over the last 3 years through COVID, continue to take money out of a business. No, Graham, let me finish, please. No,
it's a business.
No, hang on, Graham. No shareholders and directors and owners of a good business, when the business is failing in its core activity, the cash reserves are being drained, there is investment required of hundreds of millions into the stadium and the training ground,
and continue to take money out of the business.
Gary Neville's spot on there, and I haven't agreed with quite a few things that Gary Neville said in recent times, but his talk on the Glazers is beyond spot on. Those actions from the Glazers set the precedent and the standard of the club. They don't care. Leaky ceiling, old-fashioned training ground. They are not setting the standards. The directors of football or people running the club are not best in class. The training ground, not best in class. The recruitment, not best in class. The managerial appointments, not the best in class. Nothing is the best in class. Players that don't deserve 200, 300, 400 grand a week contracts, getting them. Players flirting with leaving for 4 years, not being reprimanded. At the moment, these players are not playing for Ralph. They are downing tools so that when the next manager comes in, they'll start playing again. They'll start trying. There'll be an uplift, and it's their way of saying, wasn't me, it was the manager. Wasn't me, it's the system. All that has been allowed to happen under the Glazers, and that is why we are where we are. Now, what I also want to focus on is this here. What Ralph Rangnick came out and said, and this is very strong, very, very strong words here, that Liverpool, City and Chelsea have smart people who take care of recruitment, scouting and the medical department. I think this is also an issue for our club where they have to pay attention to. Massively, huge words. This was before the game, by the way, before the game. Calling out the way we run the football club. Massive. Of course, he said it's extremely embarrassing in the way we play. This is key. He's talking about needing 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 new players are needed in this squad. And the fact that he has actually had the balls to come out and say this is absolutely massive. We do. We need an beyond overhaul. And do you know what? Some of those players don't even need to be of the highest quality. You just need some players that want to work a little bit harder, at the very least and at the beginning. Now, hear me out with this. I understand there is this clamoring, ability versus working hard. You have to have the culture of working hard first. If that doesn't exist, the ability will fail. You build the culture, you add the quality. It's like making a pizza. If you could get the best, I don't know what you guys have in your pizza, right? But you could get the best meats, the best vegetables in the world, sourced from the greatest, wild garlic, truffles, the very best. I'm going to say chicken because everybody eats chicken, right? Grass and corn-fed chicken. These things are so free range, they've got their own ensuite bathrooms in their hen fucking huts, right? That's how good the chicken is. If you have no dough to place these items upon, it ain't a pizza. It's not a pizza. It's just random bits of veg and meat on a plate. That's Man United. Zero structure, zero grounding, ever. And the last thing he said, which was massive, is that Liverpool are in 4 competitions and have nobody injured. This has got to do with how you train, what you do, and what kind of measures you take to recover. Those are questions that need to be asked and answered. And this is massive. This is huge. He's already had a pop at the medical team and the way the club operates. Standards and practice is not high enough. There's also a question mark here about the players. What are their diets like? How hard are they training? How much work do they put into recovery? What are they doing to maintain their bodies? How early are they going to bed? What extra training are they doing? What are their social activities like? All of these things manifest themselves on the football pitch. At the highest levels of sport, cutting corners, cheating processes will always come back to haunt you every single time. Every single time this is going to happen. And I had an argument on Twitter a month or so ago, with another Man United fan that believes that the professionalism and behavior in the Man United dressing room from staff and players alike is as professional as Liverpool and City's. And I think that's the most laughable opinion I've ever heard in my life. I do believe that's because certain players that people love are labeled as not being professional, so they have to play down that there's any sort of unprofessional behavior going on. But this football club is the pits. This football club is a mess. Maguire is an absolute embarrassment, and as captain needs to be one of the first to go. A big signature statement exit needs to happen from Manchester United. We've done it before for many a different reason, whether it be a Jaap Stam, whether it be a Paul Ince, whether it be a Konchesky, whether it be a David Beckham. Man United have always made signature standout exits from the club, whether it be for playing reasons, developing young players, or behavioral issues. The club has always made these big decisions. Let's see if Ten Hag gets the backing from these owners to do this, because Man United are an absolute mess.